My thoughts about Robert Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump being at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, Tennessee is obviously positive. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been positive towards cryptocurrencies throughout his campaign for the last year and a half, 2 years. He has talked positively about cryptocurrencies and has talked out about against the Fed and all this money printing and all this other stuff. So, I think that resonated with a lot of people kind of in the Gen Z and millennial generations, and he's pulled very, very well with the younger generations compared to Trump. So I think Trump, one of his things, he started realizing that it was a really popular topic, and then also one of the guys, if you're not from the United States, one of the guys that was running under the Republican Party for the primaries was Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's about 38 years old, and so he's very kind of positive towards crypto as well. And I think in certain conversations and stuff like that, Trump picked up on the fact that this is a very popular topic. Now, Trump, his camp has sold NFTs over time. There's been various different Trump NFTs, and I think he owns at least 250,000 of Ethereum. So that being said, he's kind of came around on this, and in general, I think that most people that are kind of watching this, especially if you're not from the United States, that the war on crypto has been very, very unpopular for the Biden administration, and they've essentially gotten the SEC to sue everybody, and and the Department of Justice has went on this witch hunt and try to incarcerate people that don't live in this nation and all this other stuff, like CZ from Binance. I just think it's very weird activity, and I've made videos about this before, that it almost becomes to where you can't even have sort of a timeline or anything for any kind of crypto project. You can't sit there and talk about the goals that you have or anything like that, otherwise it could be deemed as security. So you almost have to just poise everything that it's a meme token and it's just for fun if you're in the United States starting this stuff, and even if you're not in the United States. So this war on crypto needs to end, and I do think that Robert Kennedy Jr. and Trump do see that it's a very, very, very unpopular position to be doing this war on crypto. And, in general, others have said this as well, that crypto could be kind of in a way like a United States thing, is that you could, and it is a world thing, but essentially, if you really kind of push the innovation and, not attack these entrepreneurs and stuff who are trying to set up shop, because over time, even Kraken, when they first started out, they're based in San Francisco, but they did not service the U.S. market. They were big in Japan, kind of like the Guano Ape song, big in Japan. So, that's over time, like different companies have been actually, set up and operating in the United States, but then can't even service some of the states within the United States, or can't even service the United States in general. New York is another one that a lot of these companies don't touch. It's just too complicated, and they don't want to run afoul against, state and federal guidelines or lack thereof for these different crypto projects. So that being said, we could be at an inflection point. They are kind of flirting with this idea of putting Bitcoin on the Federal Reserve balance sheet, along with gold and silver, if those reserves actually exist. Now, I think it's a good talking point. I think it's gonna kind of give them a plus and a thumbs up. And if there are actual Bitcoins that are purchased, this is all a positive. But even just a talking point of it, that could be a positive move. But we are kind of at this point where now this election cycle, things regarding crypto has become a major, major talking point. I'd say a top 5 talking point at this point. And, that's a big deal that those two candidates are there. And, hopefully, they stay safe. I think that they're going to try to execute, they're going to try to assassinate both those guys because they're too big of a threat. Both of those guys, just individually, in my opinion, in a real election, would beat the Democrats, whoever they put up. So that's just my opinion. I think a lot of these polls are not very accurate, and I don't think we have a true and fair election. In a lot of regards, I'm almost starting to think the United States is like the first fourth world country, because some of the stuff I see around here and some of the stuff I see happening, it's weird, and it's very expensive here. So these people coming, I think they've been sold maybe some kind of Hollywood dream, and maybe they get paid a little bit of money to hang for a bit, but at some point it's going to get too expensive for them to really stay here. And it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse over the next 5 or 10 years. But that being said, crypto is becoming more and more and more in the spotlight. And even for the baby boomer generation, even if they're watching some of these news outlets, a lot of times they're still, pretty much all the time, they have the ticker symbol, or they have pricing for like Bitcoin and Ethereum up there at all times on the business news. And that's not something they maybe had 5 years ago. So it's just gotten more and more in people's face. And then now that people can potentially buy the ETFs and stuff, there's just more awareness, whether they trust it or not at this point. But it's taking time, and this has been a slow rollout and stuff like that. But what do you guys think? Robert Kennedy Jr. or Donald Trump? Who's maybe more of, an actual Kryptonian? And do you think these guys will actually be able to get Bitcoin on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet if they become president? Leave a comment below. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steemit, Twitter, Hive, DTube.